Hey everyone. Tonight, we embark on a journey into the mystical world of alchemy, where the fires of the forge didn't just shape metal, but kindled the secrets of the soul. Picture yourself standing by the Nile River, moonlight glinting off its surface, reflecting the towering pyramids looming in the darkness. The air around you is thick with the scent of damp earth and incense wafting from nearby temples, where priests whisper to the gods. This is ancient Egypt, where alchemy was born, not as a dry science, but as a sacred dance between matter and the divine. Honestly, if you lived here, you probably wouldn't survive a day without being captivated by these mysteries, or at least overwhelmed by the stench of crocodile embalming fluid hitting your nose. So, before you get cozy, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment to let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is there. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss these captivating adventures. You stand in the shadows of an ancient Egyptian temple, where flickering oil lamps cast dancing lights on walls carved with hieroglyphs. The smell of fragrant oils and beeswax mingles with the earthy tang of the nearby Nile. Tonight, you're not a commoner, nor a pharaoh, but a seeker of truth, stepping into the world of chemia, the ancient word that would later become the root of alchemy. The term comes from chem, meaning black land, referring to the fertile soil left by the Nile's annual floods. To the Egyptians, this black land wasn't just dirt, it was a symbol of potential, of life waiting to be transformed. You feel the weight of that meaning in every breath, as if the air itself carries the promise of rebirth. In your world, transformation isn't just an idea, it's a divine principle. The Egyptians believed everything, from a grain of wheat to a human soul, could be refined, elevated, perfected. You watch priests in the temple, their hands stained from mixing oils, herbs, and minerals into sacred elixirs. This isn't cooking, it's ritual. You see them preparing mummies, turning the dead into something eternal, ready for the journey to the afterlife. Our step, from salting to wrapping in linen, is an act of alchemy, a transformation from raw matter to something immortal. The smell of resin and natron fills the air, and it feels like the room itself whispers of eternity. You step deeper into the temple, where the darkness seems alive. At its center stands a priest, his eyes sharp as a hawk's. He's not just a ritual leader, he's a keeper of secrets. An early alchemist who knows that to change the world outside, you must first understand the world within. Historians still debate whether men like him were true alchemists in the modern sense, or simply priests blending spirituality with practice. But you don't care about academic arguments. You're here, feeling the heat from a small flame on the altar, hearing the low chant of prayers rolling like waves. Each word is a call to the gods, a plea to grasp the mysteries of creation. Here's a curious detail that stops you in your tracks. The Egyptians didn't call what they did alchemy. That term came later, from the Greeks and Arabs. To them, this was chemia, a sacred art, not just about metals, but about the very essence of life. You hear stories of elixirs crafted in the temple, not just to heal, but to connect the drinker to the gods. One vial might contain powdered stone from distant quarries, mixed with honey and resin, said to carry the strength of Osiris. You hold a small clay jar, its cool surface grounding you, and wonder if its contents could transform you as promised. Honestly, it's probably not FDA approved. But in this world, faith is the ultimate ingredient. You look up, where a sliver of moonlight spills through a gap in the temple roof. illuminating a carving of Thoth, the ibis-headed god with a crescent moon atop his head. Thoth isn't just a god, he's the embodiment of wisdom, magic, and transformation. The Egyptians believed he wrote the secrets of the universe, recording how to turn raw matter into something noble. You feel a cool breeze, as if Thoth himself is watching, judging you. You're not chosen, but you're here, standing at the crossroads of history, where alchemy began. Legend says Thoth left humanity a gift, the Emerald Tablet, a cryptic text holding the key to transforming everything. You haven't seen it, no one truly has, but you feel its pull. Like a whisper from the dark, the historical truth is clear. Ancient Egypt laid the groundwork for alchemy, not as a science but as a spiritual practice. Temple rituals, from mummification to crafting sacred potions, were all about transformation, reflecting the belief that everything could be refined. You step out of the temple, your feet dusted with the black soil of the Nile. The earthy scent clings to you, a reminder that it all starts here with soil, with fire, with the belief that change is possible. But don't get too dreamy. You still need to dodge getting nipped by a Nile crocodile, which, trust me, is not part of any sacred ritual. You pass a small market by the riverbank, where vendors hawk amulets and herbs. The shouts, the smell of spices, and the clink of coins jolt you back to reality. Here, alchemy isn't confined to temples, it seeps into daily life. People believe certain stones or oils can bring luck, health, or even love. You overhear an old woman talk about a powder made from crushed shells, said to help women conceive. You smirk, thinking we might call that a supplement today. But who knows? Maybe she's right. And that powder carries a spark of Thoth's magic. Hey, if it works, don't knock it though. I wouldn't bet on it passing a double-blind study. As you near the river's edge, you see a crowd gathered around another priest. This one, speaking of dreams, in Egypt, dreams aren't just fleeting images, they're portals to the gods. You recall stories of priests sleeping in temples, hoping for visions from Thoth. A dream of a snake might signal transformation, just like the black land turning into crops. You wonder if you'll dream tonight, and if it will bring you closer to the mystery of alchemy. But don't stress if you dream of running from a giant scorpion. It's probably just last night's lentils talking. You pose, gazing at the Nile, flowing quietly under the moonlight. Water, earth, fire, all blend here, forming the foundation of alchemy. You feel the weight of history, of those who stood here before you, seeking to transform not just metal but themselves. Egypt is the birthplace, where the idea of transformation became a flame that never dies. You take a deep breath, smelling mud and smoke, and know this journey is just beginning. The Emerald Tablet awaits, hidden somewhere in the shadows, and you're the one to follow its trail. You stand in the cool shade of an ancient Egyptian library, surrounded by towering shelves of papyrus scrolls. The air is dry, heavy with the scent of old reeds and ink, and the faint crackle of a distant torch breaks the silence. Your fingers brush against a scroll, its edges worn from centuries of reverent hands. You're no longer just a seeker, you're chasing a legend, the Emerald Tablet. A text so cryptic, so revered, that its words are said to hold the key to transforming everything. Not just lead into gold, but ignorance into wisdom, mortality into something divine. The tablet's shadow looms over you, its mystery pulling you deeper into the heart of alchemy's origins. Remember the black soil of the Nile from your last visit, that fertile promise of change. This is where it crystallizes, in a text that's less a document and more a whisper from the gods. The Emerald Tablet isn't just a relic, it's a puzzle wrapped in myth. You imagine it as a slab of shimmering green crystal, etched with words that glow under moonlight, though no one's sure it ever existed in physical form. Some say it was hidden in a secret chamber beneath the Great Pyramid. Others claim it was a scroll, copied and recopied until its origins blurred into legend. What you do know is that it's tied to Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom. You picture him penning its lines with a reed stylus, his crescent moon crown casting shadows as he writes the secrets of creation. The tablet's text is short, barely a dozen lines, but each word is heavy, layered with meaning that has haunted thinkers for millennia. You unroll an imaginary scroll, picturing the tablet's most famous line, "That which is above is like that which is below, and that which is below is like that which is above." It's not just poetry, it's a worldview. You feel a chill as you ponder it. The stars in the sky mirror the stirrings of your soul. The metals in the earth reflect the cosmos. To change one is to change the other. This principle of correspondence, as later alchemists would call it, suggests that everything is connected, a microcosm within a macrocosm. You glance at the library's ceiling, where star charts are painted in fading blue, and wonder if the answer to transforming lead into gold is also the answer to transforming yourself. It's a heady thought. And honestly, if you tried explaining it at the local tavern, you'd probably get a jug of wine thrown at you for sounding like a philosopher with too much time on his hands. The tablet speaks of the one thing, a mysterious force that flows from earth to sky, carrying the power to create and transform. You puzzle over what it means. Is it a substance, a spirit? Some alchemists will later call it the philosopher's stone. Others, the soul itself. You feel the weight of its ambiguity, like trying to hold water in your hands. The text doesn't give recipes or formulas, it offers riddles. It tells you to separate earth from fire, the subtle from the gross. With great care, you imagine yourself in a temple workshop, sorting through piles of ore and ash, trying to find that elusive spark of divinity. It's not about mixing chemicals, it's about understanding the universe's rhythm. You're not just a craftsman, you're a seeker, chasing a truth that's always just out of reach. A historical truth anchors you here. The Emerald Tablet, though attributed to Thoth, likely emerged in written form centuries later, possibly in Hellenistic Egypt, blending Egyptian mysticism with Greek philosophy. Its earliest known versions appear in Arabic texts, translated into Latin by medieval scholars, yet its origins remain murky, and historians still debate whether it was a single document or a collection of ideas passed down through oral tradition. You don't care about the academic squabbles. You're standing in this imagined library, feeling the tablet's pull. Its words aren't meant for casual readers. They're for those willing to dedicate their lives to unraveling them. You're not sure you're worthy, but you're here. And that's enough for now. A strange detail catches your attention. The tablet's green hue isn't just aesthetic. Green, to the Egyptians, was the color of life, of rebirth, of the fields after the Nile's flood. You recall the black soil from your last journey, and now you see green as its counterpart, the result of transformation. Some say the tablet was carved from actual emerald, a gem tied to Thoth's wisdom. Others insist it was symbolic, a metaphor for the verdant potential within all things. You picture a slab glowing faintly in the dark, its surface cool to the touch, and wonder if its greenness is a promise that from the raw earth of your existence, something precious can grow. It's a beautiful idea. Though, let's be real, if you tried selling symbolic emerald at the market, you'd probably get a handful of figs and a skeptical glare. You step outside the library, into the warm Egyptian night. The stars above glitter like scattered jewels, and you can't help but feel they're watching you, waiting for you to decipher their secrets. The tablet's words echo in your mind, urging you to look beyond the surface. You think of the priests you saw, mixing elixirs not just to heal bodies, but to elevate spirits. The tablet isn't about quick fixes or instant gold, it's about a process, a journey. You feel a spark of excitement, mixed with dread. To chase the tablet's truth means surrendering to its mystery, accepting that you might spend a lifetime seeking and still not find the answer. But isn't that the point? The pursuit itself is the transformation. You wander toward a small shrine nearby, where a lone priest tends a fire. The smell of burning myrrh fills the air, sharp and sweet, grounding you in the moment. You overhear him muttering about dreams, a reminder that in Egypt, the night wasn't just for sleep, it was for revelation. Dreams, like the tablet, were seen as messages from the divine. You recall stories of priests sleeping in temples, hoping for visions from Thoth. A dream of a lotus flower might mean rebirth, much like the tablet's promise of transformation. You wonder if tonight, as you drift off under these same stars, you'll dream of the tablet's words. If you do, don't be surprised if it's less about cosmic wisdom and more about that time you dropped a sandal in the Nile. Dreams have a way of keeping you humble. The tablet's influence stretches far beyond Egypt, though you don't know it yet. Its words will travel across deserts and seas, carried by traders, scribes, and mystics. You feel the weight of its legacy. Even now, standing on this ancient soil, the Emerald Tablet isn't just a text, it's a seed, planted in the black land of Egypt, ready to grow into something vast. You take a deep breath, the scent of river mud and smoke filling your lungs. The night feels alive, pulsing with possibility. You're not just chasing a legend, you're part of it, a link in a chain that stretches through time. The tablet's riddle is yours to carry, at least until you cross the desert to where alchemy will take its next step. You find yourself in a bustling Persian marketplace, the air thick with the scent of saffron, roasted nuts, and the faint tang of molten metal from a nearby forge. The sun beats down, glinting off merchant stalls piled high with silks, spices, and gleaming bronze trinkets. Voices rise and fall in a chaotic symphony of haggling, laughter, and the occasional bray of a donkey. You're no longer in Egypt's moonlit temples, but in the heart of ancient Persia, where the flame of alchemy, kindled by the Nile's black soil, now burns brighter, fed by new ideas and a sacred reverence for fire. The Emerald Tablet's riddles still echo in your mind, urging you to seek transformation. But here, the pursuit feels different, less about secret scrolls and more about the pulse of a vibrant empire. Remember the priests mixing elixirs under Thoth's gaze here. The air itself seems to shimmer with the promise of change. You weave through the crowd, your sandals kicking up dust as you pass a Zoroastrian fire temple, its eternal flame casting a warm glow through an open doorway. Zoroastrianism, the backbone of Persian spiritual life, shapes everything here, including alchemy. You pose, drawn to the temple's entrance, where the smell of burning sandalwood mingles with the dry desert breeze. Fire, to the Persians, isn't just a tool, it's divine, a symbol of purity, wisdom, and the eternal struggle between light and darkness. You feel its heat on your face, and it's as if the flame is speaking, whispering that transformation begins in its embrace. Alchemy, born in Egypt's temples, is finding new life here, not as chemia, but as a sacred art tied to the cosmos itself. You step closer, watching a priest tend the fire with meticulous care, his robes swaying as he adds wood to the blaze. The Persians believe fire purifies, stripping away corruption to reveal truth. You see the parallel to alchemy immediately. Just as fire refines metal, it can refine the soul. You imagine an alchemist in a nearby workshop, heating ore in a crucible, not just to create gold, but to mirror the purification of the self. This idea isn't just philosophy, it's a way of life. You feel the weight of it, like a stone in your pocket, heavy with meaning. The Persians don't see alchemy as a mere craft. It's a path to divine harmony, a way to align with the universe's eternal balance. A historical truth grounds you Persian alchemy, flourishing around the 6th to 4th centuries BCE, built on Egyptian foundations, but added a unique spiritual depth. Influenced by Zoroastrian dualism, the empire's vast trade networks, stretching from India to the Mediterranean, brought new materials, minerals, herbs, and ideas that enriched alchemical practice. You picture caravans laden with sulfur, mercury, and rare salts, each crate a piece of the alchemical puzzle. Historians still debate whether Persian alchemists were primarily mystics or early scientists. But you don't care about the ivory tower arguments. You're here, in the dust and heat, where the line between science and spirit blurs like a desert mirage. A strange detail catches your eye. The Persian alchemists didn't just work with metals, they experimented with dyes and perfumes, seeking to capture the essence of life itself. You pass a stall where a merchant offers vials of deep purple liquid, claiming it's distilled from a flower that blooms only under a full moon. You raise an eyebrow, sounds like a sales pitch. But in this world, who's to say it's not true? The merchant winks, saying it'll make you irresistible to royalty. You laugh, thinking modern influencers would kill for that kind of branding. Still, the idea sticks. Alchemy here isn't just about gold, it's about transforming the mundane into the extraordinary. Whether it's a scent, a stone, or a soul, you move on, drawn to a small workshop tucked behind the market. Inside, an alchemist hunches over a clay furnace, his face lit by the glow of embers. The air is stifling, smelling of charred wood and molten lead. You watch him pour a shimmering liquid into a mold, his hands steady despite the heat. He's not just crafting, he's performing a ritual, each movement deliberate, as if he's coaxing the metal's spirit to awaken. You feel a pang of awe. This isn't about wealth, it's about understanding the universe's secrets. The alchemist glances up, his eyes sharp with focus, and you wonder if he sees you not as a stranger, but as a fellow seeker, chasing the same elusive truth. You think back to the Emerald Tablet's words, "That which is above is like that which is below." Here, that idea feels alive. The alchemist's furnace mirrors the stars above, each spark a tiny cosmos. You notice a star chart etched on the workshop wall, its lines tracing constellations you don't recognize. The Persians, like the Egyptians, saw the heavens as a guide. You imagine the alchemist studying the night sky, timing his experiments to align with planetary movements. It's not superstition, it's a belief that everything earth, fire, stars is connected. You feel a spark of curiosity, wondering if your own life could be refined like this, shaped by unseen forces. But let's not get too cosmic knowing your luck. Your star chart probably says, "Beware of tripping over goats." You step outside. The cool night air, a relief after the workshop's heat. The market has quieted, but the fire temple still glows. Its flame, a steady heartbeat in the darkness. You hear a chant, low and rhythmic, and it pulls you back to the Zoroastrian idea of duality, light versus dark, truth versus falsehood. Alchemy, in Persia, is a battle to tip the scales toward light. You picture alchemists as warriors, not with swords but with crucibles, fighting to purify matter and spirit. It's a noble image, though you suspect they also spent a lot of time scrubbing soot off their hands and cursing stubborn furnaces. You wander toward the city's edge, where the desert stretches under a blanket of stars. The smell of dust and distant campfires fills your lungs. You think of the alchemist's legacy, how their work will travel beyond Persia's borders, carried by conquest and trade. The fire they tend isn't just in their workshops, it's in their ideas, spreading like embers on the wind. You feel a connection to them, to their relentless pursuit of transformation. You're not an alchemist, but standing here, you understand the urge to refine, to create, to chase something greater. The emerald tablet's riddles are still with you, but now they're joined by the Persian flame, burning bright and unyielding. You're standing in a dimly lit workshop in Alexandria, the great city where Greek, Egyptian, and Persian ideas collide like waves in a stormy sea. The air smells of molten wax, burnt herbs, and the faint metallic tang of cooling copper. Around you, shelves sag under the weight of scrolls, glass viols, and strange instruments that look like they belong in a sorcerer's lair. You're in the 3rd century CE, in the heart of Roman Egypt, following the trail of alchemy's evolution. The Persian fire temples and their sacred flames feel like a distant memory, but the quest for transformation burns just as fiercely here. You're here to meet Zosimos of Panopolis, a man whose name will echo through the ages. Not just as an alchemist, but as a mystic who saw the soul in every crucible. Remember the emerald tablet's cryptic riddles. Zosimos takes them to a new level, blending metal and spirit in ways that make your head spin. You step closer to a cluttered table where Zosimos works, his face half hidden by the glow of a small furnace. His hands move with precision, adjusting a glass still that bubbles with a strange, iridescent liquid. You catch a whiff of something sharp, like vinegar mixed with flowers, and it makes your eyes water. Zosimos isn't just mixing chemicals, he's chasing visions, seeking truths that go beyond the physical world. You feel the intensity of his focus, like a weight pressing against your chest. He's not your typical craftsman, hammering out nails or forging swords. He's a philosopher, a dreamer, a man who believes alchemy is as much about transforming the self as it is about transforming lead. You glance at a scroll open on the table. It's Greek script dense with symbols, lions, serpents, Zun's devouring moons. These aren't just notes, they're maps of the soul's journey. Zosimos writes of dreams where he's burned, dismembered, and reborn in a furnace, his body melting into colors before rising as something new. You shiver, imagining such a vision. To him, these dreams aren't nightmares, they're revelations, showing that true alchemy requires sacrifice. You must break down the ego, purify the spirit, and rebuild yourself. Just as you would refine a metal, it's heady stuff. And honestly, if you tried explaining it to your neighbors, they'd probably think you'd been sniffing too much. Furnace, smoke. A historical truth anchors you. Zosimos, active around 300 CE, is one of the earliest alchemists whose writings survive, blending Egyptian mysticism with Greek philosophy. His texts describe real equipment stills, furnaces, and distillation tools that laid the groundwork for later chemistry. But he's no mere technician. You watch him sketch a diagram of a serpent eating its tail, the Ouroboros, a symbol of eternal renewal. He believes the alchemist must undergo the same cycle: death, purification, rebirth. Historians still debate whether Zosimos was more mystic than scientist. But you don't care about the academic tug-of-war. You're here, breathing the same air, feeling the pull of his ideas like a tide. A peculiar detail catches your eye. Zosimos writes of divine water, a mysterious liquid he claims can dissolve metals and awaken their hidden potential. You peer into a vial on his table, half expecting it to glow like something out of a fantasy novel. It doesn't, but the idea sticks with you. Is this divine water a chemical? Like mercury? Or a metaphor for spiritual insight? You imagine him pouring it over a lump of lead, not just to change its form, but to unlock its essence. It's a wild concept. And let's be honest, if you tried selling divine water today, you'd probably end up on a late-night infomercial, promising eternal youth for 3 easy payments. You step back, giving Zosimos space to work. The workshop feels alive, its walls pulsing with the hum of his experiments. You notice a small altar in the corner, adorned with a statuette of Thoth, a nod to Egypt's alchemical roots. Zosimos doesn't just honor tradition, he builds on it, weaving Persian fire worship and Egyptian mysticism into a new tapestry. You feel a connection to him, to his relentless curiosity. He's not chasing gold for wealth, he's chasing understanding, a way to bridge the material and the divine. You wonder what it's like to live with such purpose, to see every experiment as a step toward enlightenment. Probably exhausting, but also exhilarating, like chasing a storm across the desert. You think back to the Emerald Tablet's words, separate the earth from the fire, the subtle from the gross. Zosimos takes this literally and spiritually. You watch him adjust the furnace, coaxing a thin stream of vapor from a boiling liquid. He's separating elements, but also seeking the subtle, the hidden spark that makes matter alive. You feel a spark of your own, a desire to dig deeper, to understand what drives him. His writings speak of the mystery of the metals, a belief that every substance has a soul. You look at the copper ingot on his table and wonder if it's watching you back. Okay, maybe that's a stretch. But in Zosimos's world, nothing is as simple as it seems. You step outside, into Alexandria's bustling streets. The smell of fresh bread and sea salt replaces the workshop's acrid fumes. The city is a crossroads, alive with philosophers, traders, and priests from every corner of the empire. You hear snippets of Greek, Aramaic, and Egyptian, a reminder that alchemy here is a melting pot, enriched by every culture it touches. Zosimos's ideas will ripple outward, carried by scrolls and whispers, shaping the alchemists who come after him. You feel the weight of his legacy, like a mantle you're not sure you can carry. His dreams, his visions, that his divine water, they're all part of the flame that began in Egypt, grew in Persia, and now burns brighter than ever. You pause by the harbour, where ships bob gently under a starlit sky. The water reflects the city's lights, and you think of Zosimos's dreams, how they shimmer with meaning just out of reach. In Egypt, dreams were portals to the gods. Here, they're tools for alchemy. You recall stories of Zosimos meditating before sleep, seeking visions to guide his work. A dream of a phoenix might mean rebirth, just like the transformation he seeks in his crucible. You wonder if you'll dream tonight, and if it'll reveal some fragment of his truth, if it's just a dream about losing your sandals in the market. Though, don't blame Zosimos, blame the street food you had earlier. You take a deep breath, the salty air grounding you. Zosimos's Alexandria is a turning point, where alchemy becomes more than a craft. It's a philosophy, a way of seeing the world. You feel the spark he's lit, the urge to transform not just matter but yourself. The journey is far from over, but you're ready for the next step, where the flame of alchemy will burn even brighter, carried by a man whose name will echo through history. You're standing in the bustling heart of Baghdad, capital of the Abbasid Caliphate. In the 8th century CE, the air hums with the scent of jasmine, sizzling street food, and the faint metallic tang of a nearby alchemist's workshop. Around you, the city pulses with life scholars debate in shaded courtyards. Merchants hawk exotic spices, and the call to prayer echoes from towering minarets. You're far from Alexandria's eclectic streets, where Zosimos wove dreams into his crucibles. Here, alchemy is no longer just a mystic's pursuit. It's becoming a disciplined art. Thanks to a man named Jabiribnhayyan, known in the West as Geber, his name carries weight, like a hammer striking an anvil. And you're here to witness how he forges alchemy into something new. Remember Zosimos's divine water. Jabir doesn't chase visions, he chases precision. Turning riddles into recipes. You weave through the crowded market, dodging carts piled high with dates and bolts of silk. The sun burns overhead, but you're drawn to a modest workshop tucked behind a row of stalls. Inside, Jabir works, his hands steady as he measures a shimmering powder into a glass vial. The air is thick with the sharp smell of acids and the low hiss of a furnace. You notice shelves lined with strange instruments, alembics, rotors, and crucibles that gleam like treasures. Jabir isn't just an alchemist, he's a pioneer, blending Persian fire, Egyptian mysticism, and Greek logic into a system that feels almost modern. You feel a spark of awe, like you're watching the birth of something monumental, though you suspect Jabir's neighbors just wish he'd stop setting off weird smells. You step closer, watching Jabir pour a liquid that bubbles and smokes, filling the room with a scent like burnt citrus. He's not chasing gold for riches, he's chasing knowledge, breaking down the world into its building blocks. He believes everything metals, plants, even you is made of 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water, mixed in precise ratios. You picture him as a chef, measuring ingredients to perfect a dish. Except his dish is the universe itself. His methods are meticulous, almost obsessive. He distills, crystallizes, and sublimates, writing it all down in texts that will outlive him. You feel the weight of his work, like a scroll too heavy to carry. This isn't just alchemy, it's the seed of chemistry, planted in a workshop that smells like a bad day at the spice market. A historical truth grounds you. Jabir, active in the 8th century, is often called the father of chemistry for his systematic approach. His texts, over 100 in number, describe processes like distillation and crystallization that are still used today. He introduced tools and techniques, acids, stills, precise measurements that turned alchemy from a mystical art into a proto-science. Historians still debate whether all the texts attributed to him were truly his, as some may have been written by later followers under his name. But you're not here for scholarly disputes. You're in Jabir's workshop, watching him scribble notes in Arabic, his ink-stained fingers moving with purpose. He's not just transforming metals, he's transforming how people think. A strange detail catches your attention. Jabir was obsessed with balance, a concept he called mizan. He believed metals, like people, could be perfected by finding their ideal equilibrium. You spot a set of scales on his table, its pans holding tiny piles of powder, one red, one black. You imagine him weighing each grain, seeking the perfect ratio to turn lead into gold. It's not just science, it's philosophy. To Jabir, a balanced metal is like a balanced soul. Both strive for perfection. You smirk, thinking modern self-help gurus would love his vibe, probably turning mizan into a catchy hashtag. But here, it's serious work, and you feel a pang of respect for his relentless precision. You glance at a scroll open beside him, filled with diagrams of furnaces and cryptic symbols. Jabir's writings blend numbers, astrology, and spiritual ideas, reflecting his belief that the material and divine are intertwined. You recall the Emerald Tablet's words, "That which is above is like that which is below." Jabir takes this to heart. Seeing the stars as guides for his experiments, you notice a star chart pinned to the wall. Its lines mapping constellations that influence his work. It's not superstition, it's a worldview where everything connects. You wonder if your own life could use a bit of mizan, though knowing your luck, your balance would involve spilling coffee on your notes. You step back, giving Jabir space to adjust his furnace. The heat is intense, making your tunic cling to your skin. You notice a small clay tablet on a shelf, etched with what looks like a prayer. It's a reminder that Jabir, for all his precision, hasn't abandoned alchemy's spiritual roots. He sees his work as a divine quest, a way to understand God's creation. You feel a connection to him, to his drive to unravel the universe's secrets. He's not just a scientist, he's a seeker, like Zosimos before him, but with a sharper focus. A clear metal, you imagine him staying up late, his lamp burning low, scribbling formulas that will echo through centuries. You step outside, into Baghdad's evening bustle. The air is cooler now, carrying the scent of grilled lamb and blooming orange trees. The city feels alive, a hub of knowledge where scholars from every corner of the world share ideas. Jabir's work will travel far beyond these walls, translated into Latin, inspiring European alchemists who will build on his legacy. You feel the weight of that future, like a book you're not ready to read. His methods, distillation, crystallization, will shape science, but his belief in balance, in transformation, will shape something deeper. You think of Zosimos's dreams, how they guided his work. Jabir, too, values dreams, seeing them as sparks of divine insight. You wonder if tonight, under Baghdad's starry sky, you'll dream of scales and furnaces, or just of the kebab you didn't get to eat. You pause by a fountain, its water glinting under lantern light. The sound of splashing grounds you, pulling you back from Jabir's world of fire and precision. His legacy is a bridge, connecting the mysticism of Egypt and Persia to the science of the future. You feel a spark of excitement, knowing you're part of this journey, following alchemy's flame as it grows brighter, ready to leap across seas to a new world. Part 6. Alchemy arrives in Europe. You're standing in a bustling square in Toledo, Islamic Spain. In the 12th century, the air hums with the scent of olive oil, fresh bread, and the faint musk of parchment drifting from nearby scriptoria. Voices swirl around you, Arabic, Hebrew, Latin blending into a tapestry of scholars, traders, and priests weaving through the crowd. The sun casts long shadows from minarets and church spires, a reminder that this city is a crossroads of cultures. You're far from Baghdad's vibrant markets, where Jabir's scales balanced alchemy's future. Here, in Al-Andalus, his ideas are crossing borders, carried by manuscripts and hungry minds. The emerald tablet's riddles and Zosimos's dreams feel like distant echoes, but they're about to spark a new flame in Europe. Remember Jabir's meticulous methods. They're meeting a continent waking from intellectual slumber, and you're here to witness the collision. You step into a shaded courtyard, where translators huddle over a table piled with Arabic texts. The air is thick with the smell of ink and worn leather, punctuated by the scratch of quills on parchment. These men, Christian, Jewish, and Muslim, work side by side, decoding the East's wisdom for a Europe starved of learning. You watch a scholar, his brow furrowed, as he translates a passage from Jabir's Book of Stones. His Latin rendering is clumsy but earnest, turning Arabic formulas into words that will ignite a revolution. You feel a thrill, like you're witnessing a secret unveiled. These translations aren't just words, they're keys, unlocking doors sealed since Rome's fall. You imagine the ideas spreading like wildfire. Though knowing your luck, you'd probably trip over a scroll and start the fire literally. You pick up a translated scroll, its edges curling from use. The text speaks of distillation, of purifying metals through fire, but also of purifying the soul. You recognize Jabir's influence, his belief in mise balance woven into every line. But here, in Europe, these ideas feel fresh, almost dangerous. The church looms large, its authority a shadow over anything that smells of heresy. You sense tension in the air, like a storm brewing. Alchemy, with its promise of transformation, is both a gift and a threat. You picture a monk reading these words in secret, his candle flickering, wondering if he's chasing God's truth or the devil's lure. Honestly, if you tried explaining this to a local priest, you'd probably get a sermon on why curiosity is a sin, followed by a suspicious squint. A historical truth anchors you in the 12th century. Toledo and other cities in Islamic Spain became hubs for translating Arabic texts into Latin, reintroducing lost knowledge to Europe. Works by Jabir, Aristotle, and others flowed through these scriptoria, sparking the intellectual revival known as the 12th century Renaissance. Historians still debate whether alchemy's arrival in Europe was a triumph of science or a dangerous flirtation with mysticism. But you're not here for academic arguments. You're in this courtyard, breathing the same air as these translators, feeling the weight of their work. Each word they write is a bridge, carrying alchemy from the East to a continent ready to embrace or fear its power. A strange detail catches your eye. One translator is copying a text called the Turba Philosophorum, a dialogue of ancient sages debating nature's secrets. You skim a line about a red stone that can turn base metals to gold. It's not Jabir's work, but it feels like his spirit, blending philosophy with cryptic hints of transformation. You smirk, imagining modern scientists rolling their eyes at this red stone nonsense. But in this world, it's deadly serious. The text isn't just a recipe, it's a worldview, suggesting that nature itself is alive, striving for perfection. You feel a pang of wonder, like you're holding a puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit. Maybe it's not supposed to, maybe the mystery is the point. You step closer to the table, watching a Jewish scholar adjust his spectacles as he deciphers a passage about Mercury's properties. The room feels alive, buzzing with ideas that cross borders and faiths. You notice a Christian monk nearby, his fingers stained with ink, copying a diagram of an alembic. This collaboration, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, is rare, a fleeting moment of harmony in a world often divided. You feel a spark of hope, like maybe these ideas can unite people in ways swords never could. The translators don't just copy words, they breathe life into them, making alchemy a shared quest. You imagine their texts spreading to monasteries, universities, and secret studies across Europe, each page a seed for transformation. You think back to the Emerald Tablet's words, "That which is above is like that which is below." Here, in Toledo, that idea takes on new meaning. The scholars see connections not just between metals and stars, but between cultures, faiths, and histories. You glance at a star chart on the wall, its lines echoing the ones you saw in Jabir's workshop. The universe feels smaller, more connected, like a tapestry you're only beginning to understand. You wonder if your own life could be part of this pattern. Though let's be real, if you were a scholar here, you'd probably spill ink on a priceless manuscript and get banished to a desert monastery. You step outside, into Toledo's evening glow. The air carries the scent of blooming oranges and cooling stone. The city feels like a crucible, melting together ideas from east and west. You hear a distant church bell, mingling with the call to prayer. And it strikes you alchemy isn't just about metals, it's about blending, refining, creating something new. These translators are alchemists in their own way, turning Arabic wisdom into Latin gold. You feel the weight of their legacy. Like a book too heavy to carry, their work will spark a hunger in Europe, a craving for knowledge that will shape the centuries to come. You pause by a fountain, its water sparkling under lantern light. The sound of splashing grounds you, pulling you back from the translator's world. You think of Zosimos's dreams, how they guided his alchemy. Here, dreams are less common, but the translators speak of visions, insights that come in quiet moments. Like a spark in the dark, you wonder if tonight, under Toledo's starry sky, you'll dream of alembics or ancient sages, if it's just a dream about losing your way in the market. Though, don't blame the scholars, blame the maze-like streets. The flame of alchemy burns brighter now, ready to leap into Europe's monasteries and mines, where it will take on a new, almost mythic form. Part 7. The Mythic Philosopher's Stone. You're standing in a dimly lit chamber in a European monastery, somewhere in 13th century France. The air is heavy with the scent of damp stone, beeswax candles, and the faint metallic tang of ink drying on parchment. Outside, the world is a blur of feudal disputes and cathedral bells. But here, in this quiet cell, a monk hunches over a forbidden manuscript, his eyes darting between lines of Latin. You're far from Toledo's vibrant courtyards, where translators bridged east and west. Now, alchemy has taken root in Europe's heart, and it's no longer just a science or a philosophy, it's a quest for something legendary, the philosopher's stone. Remember Jabir's scales, balancing elements with precision here. That balance becomes an obsession, a dream of turning the mundane into the divine. You're about to dive into the heart of that myth. You step closer, peering over the monk's shoulder. His manuscript is filled with cryptic symbols, dragons, swans, and a red stone glowing at the center of a diagram. The philosopher's stone isn't just a substance, it's a mystery, said to transmute base metals into gold and grant immortality through an elixir of life. You feel its allure, like a whisper, promising power over nature itself. The monk's hands tremble as he copies a passage from the Turba Philosophorum. The text you glimpsed in Toledo, it speaks of a red powder that can perfect any metal, just as grace perfects the soul. You sense the danger in his work. Alchemy is a tightrope walk between divine discovery and heresy. If the abbot catches him, he's in for a long lecture. Or worse, a one-way trip to the dungeon. You sit on a cold stone bench, the chill seeping through your cloak. The idea of the philosopher's stone grips you, not because you want gold, who doesn't, but because it's more than a shiny prize. It's a symbol of perfection, a key to unlocking the universe's secrets. You imagine holding it, a small, heavy crystal, warm to the touch, glowing faintly in the dark. The texts describe it as the lapis philosophorum, the culmination of the magnum opus, the great work. You picture the process blackening, whitening, yellowing, reddening. Each stage, a step toward transformation. It's not just about metal, it's about you, refining your flaws into something eternal. Honestly, if modern self-help books had this kind of flair, they'd sell out faster than a medieval relic scam. A historical truth anchors you the concept of the philosopher's stone emerged in Europe during the Middle Ages, heavily influenced by Arabic texts like Jabir's, translated in places like Toledo. By the 13th century, alchemists like Albertus Magnus and Roger Bacon wrote of a substance that could perfect matter and spirit. Historians still debate whether the stone was a literal object or a metaphor for spiritual enlightenment. But you're not here for scholarly arguments. You're in this monastery, feeling the monk's quiet rebellion as he scribbles notes by candlelight. His work is a secret, hidden from the church's watchful eyes. Yet it carries the weight of centuries of alchemical dreams. A strange detail catches your attention. Some alchemists claimed the stone wasn't a stone at all, but a powder, a liquid, or even a state of mind. You spot a vial on the monk's table, filled with a crimson dust that glints oddly in the candlelight. Is it the stone? Probably not. It's more likely some failed experiment that smells like burnt regret. But the idea fascinates you. The texts say the stone could be made from anything: mercury, sulfur, even urine. According to one bizarre recipe, you smirk, imagining a monk collecting ingredients in a bucket and calling it science. Still, the strangeness underscores the stone's mystique. It's not about what it is, but what it represents: potential, perfected. You glance at the manuscript again. Its pages dense with allegories. A drawing shows a king and queen merging into one, symbolizing the union of opposites, another clue to the stone's creation. You feel a spark of understanding. Alchemy isn't just about mixing potions, it's about harmony, blending the earthly and divine. The monk mutters a prayer, perhaps to justify his work as God's will. You sympathize. He's not just chasing gold, he's chasing meaning in a world that feels chaotic. You wonder if you'd have his courage. Risking excommunication for a dream? Probably not. You'd rather stick to safer hobbies, like brewing ale or dodging angry priors. You think back to the Emerald Tablet's words, "That which is above is like that which is below." The Philosopher's Stone embodies that idea, a bridge between the mundane and the cosmic. You notice a small astrolabe on the monk's table, its brass gleaming faintly. Alchemists here, like their Persian and Egyptian predecessors, time their experiments to the stars. You imagine the monk watching the night sky, waiting for Mercury to align before heating his crucible. It's a reminder that alchemy is a dance with the universe, each step deliberate, each gesture sacred. You feel a pang of awe, like you're part of something bigger, though knowing your luck, your cosmic dance would end with you tripping over a candle. You step outside, into the monastery's cloister. The air is crisp, scented with lavender and wet earth from a recent rain. The silence is broken only by distant chants, a reminder of the church's grip on this world. You think of Zosimos's visions, how dreams guided his alchemy. In Europe, dreams are less common among alchemists, but the monk's work feels like a dream, a vision of a world where matter and spirit can be perfected. You wonder if tonight, under this starry sky, you'll dream of red stones or golden elixirs. If it's just a dream about losing your cloak in the cloister, though, don't blame the monk. Blame the monastery's drafty halls. You pause by a stone fountain, its water glinting under moonlight. The sound of splashing grounds you, pulling you back from the monk's world of secrets and symbols. The Philosopher's Stone is more than a myth. It's a fire, burning in the hearts of those who dare to dream of transformation. You feel its heat. I promise. As alchemy takes root in Europe's soil, ready to grow into something wilder, riskier, and more profound. Part 8. A day in the life of a European alchemist. You're standing in a cramped, smoky workshop in 14th century Europe, somewhere in the heart of a bustling city, perhaps Paris or Prague. The air is thick with the acrid scent of burning charcoal, moldenlead, and something sharp that stings your nose. Like vinegar gone wrong, flickering candlelight casts shadows on stone walls, where shelves groan under the weight of glass vials, dusty scrolls, and jars filled with mysterious powders. Outside, the clamour of church bells and market vendors fades into a distant hum. You're far from the sunlit courtyards of Toledo, where translators breathed life into Jabir's texts. Here, alchemy is no longer just a translated dream, it's a gritty, dangerous reality. The philosopher's stone still haunts you, its mythic glow lingering in your mind. But now you're living a day in the life of an alchemist, where every moment teeters between discovery and disaster. Remember the monk's secret manuscript. You're about to see what happens when those ideas meet the real world. You wake before dawn, the cold stone floor biting through your thin straw mattress. Your back aches from yesterday's hours bent over a crucible, and your hands cracked, stained with soot, feel like they belong to someone twice your age. You pull on a worn wool tunic, its edges singed from stray sparks, and tie a leather apron stiff with grease and ash. The workshop is already warm, the furnace glowing faintly from last night's embers. You stoke it with care, the bellows wheezing like an old man's cough. The smell of burning wood fills the room, and you wince as a spark lands on your arm, leaving a familiar sting. Alchemy isn't glamorous. It's sweat, smoke, and the constant threat of blowing yourself up. Honestly, if you told your neighbors you're chasing the philosopher's stone, they'd probably think you're just bad at cooking. You start the day's work, measuring out sulfur and mercury with trembling hands. The scales wobble, not because you're nervous, but because the table's uneven medieval carpentry isn't exactly precision engineered. You're following a recipe from a Latin text, a translation of Jabir's work. But the instructions are maddeningly vague. Heat the spirit until it ascends. You mutter a curse under your breath. What does that even mean? You adjust the furnace, watching the mixture bubble and spit, its fumes making your eyes water. You're not just mixing chemicals, you're wrestling with nature, trying to coax it into revealing its secrets. The emerald tablet's words echo in your mind. Separate the earth from the fire. You're trying, but right now, it feels like the fire's winning. A historical truth grounds you in the 14th century. European alchemists like Roger Bacon and Raymond Lull built on Arabic texts, blending practical experiments with spiritual quests. They worked in secret, often under the church's suspicious gaze, as alchemy was seen as both a path to divine knowledge and a potential heresy. Historians still debate whether these alchemists were early scientists or misguided mystics. But you're not here for that argument. You're in this workshop, coughing through the fumes, feeling the weight of every failed experiment, your latest batch of elixir turned into a tar-like sludge. But you keep going, driven by the dream of the philosopher's stone, a dream that's starting to feel more like a curse. A strange detail catches your eye. Your workbench is littered with odd ingredients, including a vial labeled sal ammoniac, a pungent salt derived from grimace camel dung. You hold your nose, wondering how anyone thought this was the key to immortality. But in this world, nothing is too strange to try. Some alchemists swear by crushed stag antlers or dew collected at dawn. You shake your head, imagining a modern chemist's horror at your methods. Still, there's a logic here, a belief that everything in nature holds a spark of the divine. You pour the sal ammoniac into a crucible, hoping it doesn't explode. If it does, at least you'll have a story to tell at the tavern, if you survive the landlord's wrath for the smell. You pause to check a star chart pinned to the wall, its ink faded from years of smoke. Like Jabir, you time your experiments to planetary alignments, believing the stars guide the transformation of metals. You glance out the workshop's narrow window, where the morning sky is still dark. Venus is rising, a good sign for today's work, or so you hope. You're not sure if it's science or superstition, but in this moment, it feels right. You think of Zosimos's dreams, how they shaped his alchemy. You don't dream much anymore, sleep is too scarce, but when you do, it's of furnaces and red stones. Not divine visions. Maybe tonight, You'll dream of success, though knowing your luck, it'll be about dropping your crucible in the fire. You hear a knock at the door, and your heart skips. It's not a customer. Most avoid your workshop, fearing the strange smells and rumors of witchcraft. It's a local lord's servant, demanding a potion to strengthen his master's vigor. You nod, promising to try, though you know it's more likely to give him a stomachache than eternal youth. Alchemy pays the bills, but it's a risky business. The church watches closely, and one wrong step could land you in a cell. Accused of sorcery, you keep your head down, your experiments hidden, your hopes buried deeper than your failed batches. You're not just an alchemist, you're a survivor, balancing faith, fear, and the faint hope of a breakthrough. You step outside for a moment. The cool air, a relief after the workshop's heat. The city is waking, its streets filling with the clatter of carts and the chatter of merchants. You smell fresh bread from a nearby bakery, a reminder that life goes on outside your smoky world. The philosopher's stone feels farther away than ever, but you can't stop chasing it. It's not just about gold, it's about proving that transformation is possible, that you can rise above the soot and struggle. You think of the monk in the monastery, his secret manuscript lit by candlelight. You're not so different, both chasing a dream that could change everything, or burn you to ash. Part 9. Cappadocia's Underground Cities. You're standing on a windswept plateau in Cappadocia, central Turkey, in the shadow of towering rock formations that pierce the sky like ancient sentinels. The air carries the scent of dry earth and wild thyme, and the sun beats down, casting eerie shadows from fairy chimneys, strange, conical spires shaped by millennia of wind and rain. You're far from the smoky workshops of 14th century Europe, where alchemists chased the philosopher's stone. Here, in this otherworldly landscape, a different kind of transformation unfolds. Not in crucibles, but beneath your feet. Hidden under these volcanic rocks lie entire cities, carved deep into the earth, where thousands once lived in secret. Remember the monk's forbidden manuscripts. This is a secret on a grander scale, a testament to human survival that feels almost alchemical in its ingenuity. You take a step, your sandals crunching on loose gravel, and notice a small opening in the rock, barely wide enough for a person. It's an entrance to Derinkuyu, one of Cappadocia's largest underground cities, discovered only centuries later in 1963, when a man knocked down a wall in his basement. You duck inside, leaving the sun behind, and the air grows cool, damp, and heavy with the smell of ancient stone. The tunnel is narrow, its walls smooth from years of human touch, and you feel a shiver, not from cold, but from the weight of history. This isn't just a cave, it's a labyrinth, stretching down 18 stories, capable of housing 20,000 people, their livestock, and their lives. You're walking through a hidden world, a place where survival was its own kind of alchemy. You descend a spiral staircase, your hands brushing the cold rock for balance. The darkness presses in, broken only by the flicker of an imaginary oil lamp you carry, its light dancing on walls carved with precision. You pass chambers, homes, kitchens, even chapels, each cut from the soft volcanic tuff that makes Cappadocia a sculptor's dream. The air smells faintly of mildew and ancient smoke, a reminder that people didn't just hide here, they lived, prayed, and planned. You imagine families gathered in these rooms, their voices echoing softly, children playing in torchlit corridors, while adults stored grain in sealed vaults. It's not just a shelter, it's a civilization, buried to escape threats you can only guess at. Honestly, if you had to live underground, you'd probably miss sunlight more than you miss modern plumbing, which is saying something. A historical truth anchors you Cappadocia's underground cities, like Derinkuyu and Kaymakli, were likely expanded during the Byzantine era, around the 6th to 10th centuries CE, as Christian communities sought refuge from Arab raids or Roman persecution. Historians still debate whether these cities were primarily defensive or served other purposes, like monastic retreats or even older, pre-Christian rituals. But you're not here for academic arguments. You're in this tunnel, feeling the weight of the rock above you, the silence pressing against your ears. Each step takes you deeper, and you sense the ingenuity of the builders, who turned stone into sanctuary with nothing but chisels and determination. A strange detail catches your eye: a massive, circular stone door, like a giant millstone, set into a groove in the tunnel. You run your hand over its smooth surface, marveling at its design. It could be rolled shut from the inside, sealing the city from invaders, but impossible to open from the outside. You picture a defender pushing it closed, the grinding sound echoing as families huddled in the dark. It's not just a door, it's a promise of safety, a barrier between life and whatever hunted them. You smirk, thinking modern security systems could learn a thing or two from these ancient engineers, though good luck installing a millstone in your apartment. You move deeper, passing a ventilation shaft that snakes upward, bringing fresh air to these subterranean depths. The builders thought of everything: wells, tapping underground aquifers, channels to manage smoke, even stables for livestock. You imagine sheep bleating in a carved-out pen, their warmth a comfort in the chilly depths. The city feels alive, its layout deliberate, like an alchemist's formula for survival. You recall jabiribnhayyan, his quest for balance. Here, balance is carved into the rock between air and darkness, safety and isolation, life and fear. You feel a spark of awe, like you're walking through a crucible where human resilience was forged. You pause in a small chapel, its walls etched with faint crosses and faded frescoes. The smell of ancient incense lingers. Or maybe it's just your imagination. You picture monks praying here, their voices soft but steady, holding on to faith in a world that forced them underground. The chapel's simplicity moves you: no grand cathedral, just a carved-out space for hope. You wonder what drove these people to such extremes. Was it war, as many believe, or something older, stranger? You think of Zosimos's dreams, how they guided his alchemy. Here, dreams might have been rare, but survival was a vision in itself, a collective dream of enduring against all odds. If you dream down here, it'd probably be about fresh air or knowing your luck. Getting stuck in a tunnel, you climb back toward the surface, the air growing warmer, the light stronger. You emerge blinking into the sunlight, the fairy chimneys looming like silent guardians. The contrast is jarring above, a landscape of surreal beauty. Below, a world of calculated survival. You feel the weight of Cappadocia's secrets, like a stone in your chest. These cities aren't just ruins, they're proof that humans can transform even the earth itself to endure. The philosopher's stone was a dream of perfecting matter. These underground cities are a reality of perfecting survival. Each tunnel, a testament to ingenuity and defiance. Part 10. Engineering the Underground. You're deep within the stone heart of Derinkuyu, one of Cappadocia's vast underground cities. In the 7th century CE, the air is cool and damp, carrying the faint scent of ancient earth and the flicker of oil lamps that cast trembling shadows on smooth rock walls. Your footsteps echo softly as you navigate a narrow tunnel, its ceiling low enough to make you duck. You're far from the sunlit plateau above, where fairy chimneys stand like silent sculptures. Here, beneath the volcanic tuff, You're surrounded by a marvel of human ingenuity, a city carved not with machines but with chisels, patience, and an unrelenting will to survive. The alchemist's furnaces, chasing the philosopher's stone, feel like a distant dream, but remember their quest to transform the raw into the refined. This underground world is its own kind of alchemy, turning rock into refuge. You pause at a junction where tunnels branch in 3 directions, each path leading to a different level of the city. The walls are smooth, carved with precision that rivals any cathedral. You run your hand over the stone, feeling its cool, almost polished surface. This isn't a random burrow, it's a masterpiece of engineering, designed to sustain thousands for months, maybe years. You imagine the builders, men and women with calloused hands, working by lamplight, chiseling away at the soft tuff to create homes, stables, and chapels. The air smells faintly of mildew and ancient straw, a reminder that life thrived here. Hidden from the world above, you feel a spark of awe, like you're standing in a crucible where survival was forged. You descend a spiral staircase, its steps worn smooth by countless feet. The staircase is narrow, forcing you to move single file, a deliberate design to slow invaders. You notice a ventilation shaft carved into the rock, its opening so precise, it pulls air from the surface, 50 meters above. You take a deep breath, grateful for the fresh air, and marvel at the genius of it. No pumps, no fans, just gravity and clever planning. The shaft snakes through 18 stories, delivering oxygen to the deepest chambers. You picture families sleeping soundly, their breath mingling with the cool air, safe in the knowledge that the city's lungs never stop working. Honestly, if modern architects could pull this off without electricity, they'd probably brag about it on social media. A historical truth anchors you. Cappadocia's underground cities, like Derinkuyu and Kaymakli, were engineered with remarkable sophistication, likely expanded during the Byzantine era to protect against invasions. Archaeological evidence shows ventilation systems, water wells, and defensive features that suggest a deep understanding of architecture and survival. Historians still debate whether these cities were built solely for defense or served ritual purposes, perhaps tied to early religious practices. But you're not here for scholarly disputes. You're in this tunnel, feeling the weight of the rock above, the silence pressing against you like a living thing. Each carved chamber is a testament to human resilience, a defiance of the chaos above. A strange detail catches your eye, a small, carved-out niche in the wall, holding a clay lamp, still blackened with soot. You imagine a child lighting it centuries ago, its tiny flame pushing back the darkness. The niche isn't just practical, it's personal. Come a reminder that people didn't just survive here, they lived, loved, and left traces of themselves. Some chambers have slots for storing grain, sealed so tightly that archaeologists found unspoiled wheat centuries later. You smirk, thinking modern survivalists with their canned beans could learn a thing or two from these ancient preppers. The niche feels like a whisper from the past, proof that this city was a home, not just a fortress. You move deeper, passing a chamber with a low ceiling, its walls etched with faint crosses. It's a chapel, simple but sacred, where prayers were offered in the dark. The smell of ancient incense lingers. Or maybe it's your imagination, stirred by the weight of this place. You picture monks or families gathered here, their voices soft but steady, holding on to faith in a world that forced them underground. The city's layout is ingenious living quarters near the surface for quick escapes, kitchens and stables deeper to contain smoke and smells, and wells tapping aquifers, so no one needed to surface for water. You recall Jabir's mizan, his balance of elements. Here, The balance is carved into the rock between air and darkness. Safety and isolation. Life and fear. You reach a massive stone door. A circular slab, like a millstone. Set into a groove. You trace its edge. Marveling at its weight. Tons of rock. Yet movable by a single person from the inside. It's a defensive masterpiece. Designed to seal tunnels against invaders. You imagine the grinding sound as it closes. Families huddling behind it. Safe from whatever prowled above, the door feels alchemical, transforming vulnerability into strength. Just as the philosopher's stone promised to transform lead into gold. You wonder what drove these people to such extremes: war, persecution, or something older. You think of Zosimos's dreams, how they guided his alchemy. Here, the dream was survival, and every tunnel was a step toward it. If you dreamed down here, it'd probably be about open skies or, knowing your luck, getting stuck behind one of these doors. You climb back toward the surface, the air warming as you near the exit. You emerge into the blinding sunlight, the fairy chimneys looming like silent guardians. The contrast is stark above. A surreal landscape. Below, a calculated world of survival. You feel the weight of Cappadocia's secrets. Like a stone in your pocket. These cities aren't just engineering feats. They're proof that humans can transform even the earth to endure. The alchemists sought perfection in their crucibles. The people of Cappadocia found it in the rock, carving a legacy that still whispers of defiance and hope. Part 11. Dreams. The language of gods. You're standing in a dimly lit temple chamber in Cappadocia, carved deep into the cliffside cliffs above the underground city of Derinkuyu. Around the 8th century CE, the air is cool, scented with faint traces of myrrh and the earthy musk of ancient stone. Flickering oil lamps cast shadows that dance across walls, etched with simple crosses and faded carvings of stars. You're far from the ingenious tunnels below, where stone doors and ventilation shafts turned rock into refuge. But here, in this sacred space, you're exploring a different kind of transformation, not of matter, but of the soul. The alchemist's quest for the philosopher's stone was driven by fire and formulas. Here, it's driven by dreams, seen as messages from the divine. Remember the alchemist's smoky workshop, with its cryptic scrolls. Now, you're diving into the night, where dreams shaped not just alchemy but entire civilizations. You lie down on a woven mat, the rough fibers prickling against your back as you stare at the ceiling, where a carved lotus blooms faintly in the lamplight, a symbol of rebirth, echoing the alchemical transformation. A priest nearby chants softly in a language you don't fully understand. His voice, a soothing rhythm that lulls you toward a sleep. In Cappadocia, as in Egypt and Persia before, dreams are sacred, portals to the gods' wisdom. You feel the weight of expectation, like a stone on your chest. To dream here isn't just to rest, it's to listen, to receive truths that might guide a community's survival or an alchemist's next experiment. You wonder what you'll see when you close your eyes, perhaps a vision of the philosopher's stone. Or, knowing your luck, just a replay of that time you got lost in a market and tripped over a donkey cart. The priest pauses, his robe brushing the floor as he places a small clay tablet beside you, etched with symbols of the moon and serpents. He tells you to seek a true dream, a vision from the gods, not a false one born of daily worries. You recall Zosimos's dreams of burning and rebirth, how they fueled his alchemy. Here, in this Christian enclave, dreams might reveal God's will, whether to stay hidden from invaders or to carve deeper into the rock. You feel a connection to those ancient alchemists, who saw in dreams a spark of the divine, much like the spark they sought in their crucibles. The air smells of ancient incense, grounding you, and you sense the temple's power, a place where stories of the night held sway. A historical truth anchors you across ancient cultures, including early Christian communities in Cappadocia. Dreams were revered as divine communication, often guiding religious and practical decisions. Texts like the Ramesside Dream of Ramses II book in Egypt and Artemidorus's Onirocritica in Greece show that dream interpretation was systematic, a respected art. Historians still debate whether these dreams were purely spiritual or served as psychological tools for coping with uncertainty. But you're not here for academic arguments. You're in this chamber, feeling the cool stone beneath you. The priests chant, fading as you drift toward a sleep. Dreams here aren't just stories, they're maps, guiding people through persecution or alchemists through their magnum opus. A strange detail catches your eye. A small niche in the wall holds a clay figurine of an angel, its wings chipped, but eyes wide, as if watching over dreamers. You learn that locals placed such figures to ward off false dreams sent by malevolent spirits. You smirk, imagining a medieval version of a dream catcher. Though this angel looks more judgmental than soothing, the practice feels oddly personal, a reminder that dreams were intimate yet communal, shared with priests or elders to decipher threats or blessings. You picture a family in Derinkuyu below, recounting a dream of a rising sun, hope, perhaps, or a warning of danger. The figurine's gaze makes you wonder if your own dreams are worth guarding, or if they're just last night's stew talking. You close your eyes. The priests chant, now a distant hum. You think of a Jabir's mizan, his balance of elements, and see a parallel in dreams, balancing fear and hope, the earthly and divine. In Cappadocia, dreams might have guided where to dig a new tunnel or when to seal a stone door. You imagine an alchemist in a nearby cave, dreaming of a red stone, waking to adjust his furnace. The emerald tablet's words linger, that which is above is like that which is below. Dreams embody that, linking the heavens to the human soul. You feel a spark of curiosity, wondering if your own dreams could guide you. Though let's be honest, if you dream of flying, it's probably just wishful thinking about escaping these tight tunnels. You drift closer to sleep, the temple's silence wrapping around you like a cloak. You recall the stories of dream incubation in Egypt, where priests slept in temples to seek visions from Thoth. Here, the practice is simpler, but no less sacred. You picture Christians praying before sleep, asking for guidance in a world of raids and uncertainty. The chapel's crosses remind you of their faith, a belief that dreams could offer not just survival but salvation. You wonder what it's like to live with such trust in the night, to see every vision as a message. It's humbling, though you suspect your own dreams would be less divine prophecy and more, where did I park my camel? You stir. Not quite asleep. The cool air grounding you, the temple feels alive, its walls holding centuries of whispered dreams. You think of the underground cities below, their tunnels a testament to survival. Dreams, like those tunnels, were a refuge, a place to find hope when the world above turned hostile. You feel the weight of this legacy, like a scroll too heavy to carry. Dreams shaped alchemy, guiding Zosimos's visions and Jabir's experiments. In Cappadocia, they shaped lives, turning fear into resilience. You're ready to drift off, hoping for a vision of your own, carrying the flame of alchemy, forward into the night. Part 12. Prophetic and Healing Dreams. You're reclining on a simple reed mat in a small cave chapel near Kaymakli, another of Cappadocia's underground cities. In the 8th century CE, the air is cool, scented with faint traces of olive oil from flickering lamps and the earthy tang of volcanic rock The walls are adorned with crude frescoes of saints, their eyes glowing in the dim light, watching over you as you prepare to sleep. You're far from the temple chamber above Derinkuyu, where dreams were revered as divine whispers. Here, in this hidden sanctuary, you're diving deeper into the power of dreams, not just as messages, but as prophecies and sources of healing. The alchemist's quest for the philosopher's stone sought transformation through fire. Here, transformation comes in the quiet of sleep. Remember the priest's chant lulling you toward visions now. You're chasing dreams that could foretell the future, or mend a broken body. You adjust the mat, its rough texture grounding you as you lie back, staring at a fresco of an angel holding a scroll. A local elder, her face lined with years of worry, sits nearby, murmuring prayers to guide your sleep. She tells you to seek a healing dream, a vision where saints or angels might reveal a cure for illness, or a path through danger. You feel the weight of her words, like a stone in your hand. In Cappadocia, dreams aren't just personal, they're communal, shared to protect the hidden city below. You imagine a villager dreaming of a wolf at the city's entrance, a warning of raiders, or of a spring gushing from rock. A sign to dig a new well. You wonder what you'll see tonight, hoping for wisdom, though knowing your luck. It'll be about tripping over a lamp and setting your cloak on fire. The elder places a small clay vial beside you, its contents smelling faintly of lavender and honey. She says it's to calm your mind, ensuring a true dream from God, not a false one born of fear or indigestion. You recall Zosimos's visions of burning and rebirth, how they shaped his alchemy. Here, dreams might show a saint prescribing herbs for a fever or an angel pointing to a safe escape route. You feel a connection to those ancient alchemists who saw dreams as sparks of divine insight. Much like the spark they sought in their crucibles, the air is heavy with expectation, and you sense the chapel's sanctity, a place where sleep was a sacred act, not an escape. A historical truth anchors you in ancient cultures, including early Christian communities in Cappadocia. Dreams were seen as prophetic and therapeutic, often recorded and interpreted by priests or oracles. In Greece, temples of Asclepius offered dream incubation for healing, while Egyptian dream books catalogued symbols like crocodiles or floods for omens. Historians still debate whether these practices were spiritual, psychological, or a mix of both. But you're not here for academic arguments. You're in this chapel, feeling the cool rock beneath you, the elder's prayers fading as you drift toward sleep. Dreams here aren't just visions, they're tools, guiding survival, health, and faith in a world of uncertainty. A strange detail catches your eye, a small stone tablet near the altar, inscribed with a prayer to ward off nightmares. The elder explains that some dreams were feared as attacks by demons, requiring protective rituals. You smirk, imagining a medieval version of a nightlight, though this tablet feels more like a spiritual bouncer. The practice is oddly comforting, a reminder that dreams were taken seriously, not dismissed as fancy. You picture a mother in Kamakli below, soothing a child who dreamed of fire, consulting the elder for its meaning, perhaps a warning to check the city's lamps. The tablet's presence makes you wonder if your own dreams need guarding, or if they're just last night's bread and cheese talking. You close your eyes. The elder's prayers, now a soft hum. You think of Jabir's mizan, his balance of elements, and see a parallel in dreams, balancing hope and fear, the divine and human. In Cappadocia, a dream of a dove might mean peace, prompting the community to emerge from hiding, while a storm could signal danger, urging them to seal the stone doors. You imagine an alchemist dreaming of a red powder, waking to refine his formula, just as a villager might dream of a safe path through a raid. The emerald tablet's words linger. That which is above is like that which is below. Dreams bridge that gap, linking heaven's will to earth's struggles. You feel a spark of curiosity, wondering if your own dreams could heal or warn. Though let's be honest, if you dream of flying, it's probably just envy of the birds outside. You drift closer to sleep, the chapel's silence wrapping you like a blanket. You recall Egypt's dream incubation, where priests sought Thoth's guidance. Here, the practice is humbler, but no less vital. You picture Christians praying before sleep, asking for visions to navigate persecution or illness. The frescoes remind you of their faith, a belief that dreams could offer not just answers but miracles. You wonder what it's like to live with such trust in the night, to see every vision as a gift. It's humbling. Though you suspect your own dreams would be less prophetic and more, "Where did I leave my sandals?" You stir. Not quite asleep. The cool air grounding you. The chapel feels alive, its walls holding centuries of whispered dreams. You think of Derinkuyu's tunnels. Their ingenuity, a physical alchemy, dreams, like those tunnels, were a refuge, a place to find hope when the world above turned hostile. You feel the weight of this legacy, like a scroll too heavy to carry. Dreams shaped alchemy, guiding Zosimos and Jabir in Cappadocia. They shaped survival, turning fear into foresight. You're ready to drift off, hoping for a vision of your own, carrying the flame of transformation into the night. Part 13. Alchemy in the Shadows. You're crouched in a hidden chamber beneath a crumbling castle in 15th century Bohemia. The air thick with the scent of damp earth, molten wax, and the acrid tang of a smouldering furnace. A single candle flickers on a rough-hewn table, casting jagged shadows across walls, etched with cryptic symbols, serpents, crowns, and a sun swallowing a moon. You're far from the sacred chapel in Cappadocia, where dreams were portals to divine wisdom. Here, in the heart of medieval Europe, alchemy has slipped into the shadows, driven underground by the church's watchful eyes and whispers of heresy. The philosopher's stone still burns in your mind, its promise of transformation undimmed. But now, it's a dangerous secret, guarded by codes and cloaked in silence. Remember the alchemist's smoky workshop, with its perilous experiments? You're about to see what happens when that pursuit becomes a forbidden art. You adjust your cloak, the wool heavy with the damp of the cellar, and peer at a worn manuscript open on the table. Its pages are filled with green ink and allegories, a king drowned in mercury, a dragon reborn in fire veiling recipes for the stone, in a language only initiates understand. You're not alone, a figure in a patched robe, face half hidden by a hood, tends a crucible, its glow painting their eyes with fierce determination. This alchemist, perhaps a scholar or a rogue monk, works in secret, knowing one wrong move could bring the Inquisition's wrath. You feel the tension, like a taut bowstring, and wonder if you dare chase such a dream under such scrutiny. Honestly, if you tried explaining this to a local priest, you'd probably get a one-way ticket to a bonfire, with a side of eternal penance. You step closer, the floor creaking under your boots, and watch the alchemist pour a shimmering liquid into a glass vial. The fumes sting your nose, a mix of sulfur and something sharp, like burnt wine. This isn't just science, it's rebellion, a defiance of the Church's claim that only God can transform matter or soul. The alchemist's tools, alembics, rotor, and a battered astrolabe, are relics of Jabir's precision, but their use now carries a heavier weight. You notice a small cross hanging above the furnace, a nod to faith, or maybe a plea for protection. The alchemist mutters a prayer, blending Latin with cryptic phrases, as if hedging bets between heaven and the crucible. You feel a spark of admiration, tinged with unease. This is a tightrope, walk over a pit of flames. A historical truth anchors you. By the 15th century, alchemy in Europe had become a clandestine practice. As the Church grew wary of its claims to transform matter and spirit outside divine authority, figures like Paracelsus challenged traditional medicine and theology with alchemical ideas, risking persecution. Historians still debate whether alchemy's secrecy was born of necessity or a deliberate mystique to protect its knowledge. But you're not here for academic arguments. You're in this hidden chamber, feeling the chill of the stone walls, the alchemist's quiet defiance, a pulse in the air. Each experiment is a gamble, not just for gold, but for survival in a world that fears what it doesn't understand. A strange detail catches your eye, a book on the table. Its pages filled not with words but with images, a silent text known as the mutus liber. You flip through it, seeing drawings of furnaces, stars, and a man melting into a river of light. It's a guide to the magnum opus, but without text. It's a riddle only the initiated can solve. You smirk, thinking it's like a medieval comic book for alchemists. Though good luck explaining that to the Inquisition, they'd probably burn it for being too artsy. The mutus liber is a testament to alchemy's need for secrecy, its truths hidden in symbols to evade prying eyes. You feel a pang of respect for the cunning it took to preserve this knowledge. Like smuggling a treasure through a siege, you glance at the alchemist, who adjusts the furnace with a steady hand, oblivious to the world above. You think of Zosimos's dreams, how they guided his experiments. Dreams are rarer here, replaced by coded texts and whispered teachings. But the alchemist's focus feels dreamlike, a vision of a world where matter bends to will. You recall the emerald tablet's words, "That which is above is like that which is below." The alchemist lives this, seeing the crucible as a mirror of the cosmos. Each reaction a step towards divine harmony. You notice a star chart scratched into the table, its lines guiding the timing of their work. You wonder if your own life could hold such purpose. Though let's be real, if you tried this, you'd probably set your cloak on fire and call it a divine sign. You hear a faint creak above, and your heart skips footsteps. Perhaps a servant or, worse, a church official. The alchemist doesn't flinch, their focus unbreakable. But you sense the ever-present fear. Alchemy's secrecy isn't just practical, it's a culture, passed through secret societies like the Rosicrucians, whose manifestos will soon speak of hidden wisdom. You imagine meeting one in a darkened tavern, exchanging coded phrases to prove your trust. It's thrilling, but exhausting. You'd rather stick to safer secrets. Like hiding your stash of tavern ale from nosy neighbors, the alchemist's life is one of duality: scholar by day, rebel by night, chasing a truth that could save or damn them. You step back, the candle's flame wavering as you move. The chamber feels alive, its walls holding centuries of whispered secrets. You think of Cappadocia's underground cities, their tunnels, a physical refuge. Here, the refuge is knowledge, guarded by symbols and silence. You feel the weight of this legacy, like a book too heavy to carry. Alchemy, once open in Egypt's temples and Toledo's courtyards, now thrives in the dark. A flame dim, but unextinguished. You're ready to follow it further, into a world where alchemy will face its greatest challenge yet. As the dawn of science begins to break, Part 14, From Alchemy to Modern Chemistry. You're standing in a sunlit laboratory in 17th century London. The air sharp with the smell of nitric acid, molten glass, and the faint must of old books. Outside, the city hums with the clatter of carriages and the shouts of street vendors. But here, in this orderly room, a quiet revolution is unfolding. Polished brass instruments gleam on oak tables, and a precise set of scales sits beside a bubbling retort. You're far from the shadowy chamber in Bohemia, where alchemists hid their secrets in coded symbols, the philosopher's stone. Once a mythic dream that is fading into metaphor as alchemy faces its greatest transformation yet into the science of chemistry. Remember the alchemist's clandestine crucible. You're about to see its legacy reborn in beakers and logic. The flame of transformation burns on broodings, but it's taking a new shape. You step closer to a table where a man in a plain coat, let's call him a chemist, not an alchemist, adjusts a flame under a glass flask. His name might be Robert Boyle, a figure whose work is reshaping the world. The air crackles with the scent of heated metal, and you watch as he measures a powder with a precision that would make Jabir proud. Unlike the alchemist in the castle cellar, this man works openly, his notes clear and methodical, free of dragons or cryptic kings. He's not chasing gold or immortality, he's chasing truth, breaking matter into its smallest parts. You feel a shift. Like a page turning in history's book, alchemy's mysticism is being stripped away. But its tools, distillation, crystallization live on, refined into something new. You glance at a book open on the table. Its title bold, The Skeptical Chimist. Boyle's words argue that matter is made of atoms, not mystical essences, and that reactions can be explained without allegories. You feel a pang of loss for the old ways, Zosimos's dreams. The emerald tablet's riddles, but also a spark of excitement. This is clarity, a new language for transformation. The chemist pours a liquid that hisses and smokes, its color shifting from green to clear. You're mesmerized, not by magic, but by logic, by the promise that nature's secrets can be measured, not just dreamed. It's not as poetic as a red stone, but it's real. And honestly, if you tried selling atomic theory in a medieval tavern, you'd probably get a mug of ale thrown at you for sounding like a know-it-all. A historical truth anchors you in the 17th century. Alchemy began evolving into chemistry, with figures like Robert Boyle and later Antoine Lavoisier laying the foundations for modern science. Boyle's 1661 book rejected the four-element theory earth, air, fire, water in favor of atoms, while Lavoisier's discovery of oxygen in the 1770s disproved ancient alchemical ideas. Historians still debate whether alchemy was a misguided precursor or a vital stepping stone to chemistry. But you're not here for academic arguments. You're in this laboratory, breathing the sharp air, feeling the weight of a new era. Each experiment is a bridge, carrying Jabir's tools and Zosimos's curiosity into a world that values proof over prophecy. A strange detail catches your eye, a dusty alchemical text tucked behind Boyle's modern instruments. Its pages yellowed and filled with serpents and suns. You flip through it, seeing recipes for the philosopher's stone, and realize many early chemists were alchemists first. Boyle himself dabbled in alchemy, hoping to transmute metals, but he demanded evidence, not faith. You smirk, imagining him rolling his eyes at a divine water recipe while secretly trying it anyway. The text is a reminder that chemistry didn't kill alchemy, it absorbed it. Like a river swallowing a stream, you feel a connection to those old alchemists, their passion living on in these precise scales and clear glassware. You step back, watching the chemist adjust a burner, his focus unbreakable. The room feels alive, its walls pulsing with the hum of discovery. You think of Cappadocia's underground cities, their tunnels a testament to survival. Here, the refuge is knowledge, built not with chisels, but with experiments. You recall the emerald tablet's words, "That which is above is like that which is below." Boyle might scoff at the mysticism, but his work echoes it, seeking harmony in nature's laws. You notice a star chart on the wall, a nod to alchemy's past. Though now, it's more decoration than guide. You wonder if your own life could be measured like this, broken into parts and understood. Though let's be real, if you tried, you'd probably misplace the beaker and call it a cosmic mystery. You hear a knock at the door, and a colleague enters, carrying a new text on air's properties. The chemist nods, eager to test its claims. This openness sharing, questioning, proving is new. A far cry from the alchemist's coded secrecy. You feel a spark of hope, like sunlight breaking through clouds. Chemistry is alchemy's child, carrying its tools but shedding its shadows. You imagine these ideas spreading to universities, laboratories, even factories, shaping a world where transformation is no longer a dream, but a fact. You think of Zosimos's dreams, how they guided his work. Dreams are less vital here, replaced by data. But the chemist's focus feels dreamlike, a vision of a world where nature bends to reason. You step outside, into London's bustling streets. The air smells of coal smoke and fresh rain, grounding you in this moment of change. The city feels like a crucible, melting old and new into something bold. You think of the alchemist in the castle, their secrets hidden from the church. Here, secrets are shared, tested, refined. You feel the weight of this legacy. Like a book too heavy to carry, alchemy's flame hasn't died, it's transformed, burning brighter in beakers than it ever did in crucibles. You're ready to follow it one last time, to see where its spark lands in a world that's just beginning to understand its power. Part 15. The legacy that Street Ill burns. You're standing in a quiet, modern library in a bustling city, the air soft with the scent of polished wood, old paper, and the faint hum of air conditioning. Outside, the world rushes by, cars honk, screens glow, and people chase deadlines, but here, in this haven of knowledge, time feels slower, almost sacred. You're far from the sunlit laboratory in 17th century London, where Robert Boyle's beakers marked the birth of chemistry. Yet the flame of alchemy, kindled in Egypt's temples, fanned in Persia's fire altars, and hidden in Europe's secret chambers, still flickers here, not in crucibles, but in ideas, questions, and the human urge to transform. The philosopher's stone is a distant dream, but its legacy lives on, woven into science, psychology, and the stories we tell ourselves. Remember the chemist's precise scales. You're about to see how alchemy's spark endures, a fire that never truly dies. You wander between towering shelves, your fingers brushing the spines of books on chemistry, philosophy, and myth. One catches your eye, a volume on Carl Jung, the 20th century psychologist who saw alchemy not as failed science but as a map of the human psyche. You pull it down, its pages heavy with notes on the magnum opus, blackening as despair, whitening as insight, reddening as wholeness. You feel a spark of recognition. Jung's ideas echo Zosimos's dreams of rebirth. The emerald tablets call to unite above and below. Alchemy, he argued, was never just about gold. It was about becoming whole, transforming the self as much as any metal. You smile, thinking modern therapy owes a debt to those soot-stained alchemists. Though good luck convincing your therapist to prescribe a dose of divine water. You sit at a reading table, the book open before you, and notice a nearby display on the periodic table. Its neat grid, a testament to chemistry's triumph. You trace the elements: hydrogen, oxygen, gold, and recall Lavoisier's experiments. how he banished alchemy's four elements for something measurable. Yet the table feels alchemical. A catalogue of nature's building blocks, each with the potential to combine, transform, create. You think of Jabir's mizan, his quest for balance, and see it here. In the precise ratios that turn carbon into diamonds or uranium into energy, science may have replaced the crucible with reactors. But the dream of transformation lead into gold. Chaos into order remains. You feel a connection across centuries. A thread linking Egypt's priests to today's physicists. All chasing the same elusive truth. A historical truth anchors you. Alchemy's influence persists in modern science and culture. From chemistry's tools to Jung's psychology, and even literature's obsession with transformation, the periodic table, nuclear reactors, and psychotherapy all trace roots to alchemical ideas. Refined over centuries, historians still debate whether alchemy was a dead end or a catalyst for progress. But you're not here for academic arguments. You're in this library, surrounded by books that carry alchemy's legacy, feeling its weight like a scroll in your hands. Each page, each formula, each story is a spark, proof that the quest to transform never ends, only changes form. A strange detail catches your eye, a nearby exhibit on alchemical symbols, including the Ouroboros, the serpent eating its tail. You recall seeing it in Zosimos's workshop, a sign of eternal renewal. Here, it's framed as art, but its meaning lingers life, death, rebirth, a cycle that mirrors Jung's individuation or a chemist's reaction. You smirk, imagining an alchemist sneaking the Ouroboros into a modern lab report, just to mess with the boss. The symbol's presence reminds you that alchemy's language still speaks in self-help books, urging transformation, in movies where heroes rise from ashes, in the way we all seek to refine ourselves. You feel a pang of wonder, like you're holding a piece of eternity. A reminder that some truths outlast stone. You think back to Cappadocia's underground cities, their tunnels, a testament to survival. Alchemy, too, survived, not by hiding but by evolving, blending into science, art, and thought. You recall the Emerald Tablet's words, "That which is above is like that which is below." It's here, in the library's quiet, where chemistry meets myth, where the mind seeks harmony with the cosmos. You notice a student nearby, scribbling notes on quantum physics, and wonder if they're chasing the same spark, maybe not gold, but a unified theory, a truth that binds everything. You feel a kinship with them, with every seeker from Thoth's priests to Boyle's chemists, all part of the same fire. You step outside, into the city's evening glow. The air smells of rain and street food, grounding you in the present. The world feels alive. A crucible of ideas where transformation is constant new medicines, new stories, new ways to understand ourselves. You think of the alchemist in the castle, their secrets guarded by symbols. Here, secrets are shared, tested, refined, but the dream remains to change, to perfect, to become. You feel the weight of alchemy's legacy, like a book too heavy to carry, yet too precious to set down. Dreams once guided Zosimos and Cappadocia's Christians. Now, they guide us, not as prophecies, but as questions, urging us to keep seeking. You pause under a street lamp, its light soft against the gathering dusk. The city fades, its noise a gentle hum, like a furnace settling for the night. Alchemy's flame still burns, not in hidden chambers or ancient tunnels, but in you, in every question you ask, every change you seek, every spark of wonder that lights your heart. From Egypt's black soil to this moment, the quest remains to refine, to transform, to find the gold within. Let the world spin on. Let the stars keep their secrets. You carry the fire now, a quiet ember, glowing softly as you drift towards sleep. Close your eyes. Let the night take you. The journey never ends. But for now, rest. The flame will wait.